Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Alphacool NexXxoS GPX water blocks. Now, this is just one for you ever so quickly, all mounted. I will show you everything that's in the box and all the gubbins beforehand, but essentially to give you a kind of a water cooling background, and bearing in mind I've been water cooling rigs, graphics cards for many years now, even way back before even like easily accessible water blocks were easy enough to get hold of, especially for graphics cards and like. But essentially, if you wanted to water cool your graphics card, you would get yourself a reference card like this, or at least one that had a reference PCB on it, which is all the gubbins that's underneath. And you stuck with the reference, because it pretty much meant that you could get a water block for it. When you get aftermarket PCBs and custom PCBs, a bit like this Asus Strix or the DCU2s, or for argument's sake like MSI Lightnings and stuff like that, you would struggle to get water blocks to fit. Manufacturers are getting a little bit better with making different brands, different options now. But it still can get quite difficult, and you're forever kind of worried online and looking around trying to make sure that you can get a water block for it. For argument's sake, most of the Gigabyte WindForce ones you can't actually get water blocks for, and it's got very difficult to be able to get blocks and stuff like that. For argument's sake, like the Asus Matrix cards, they can be incredibly difficult to get water blocks for. Well, essentially, Alphacool have taken a completely different approach to that, they've kind of blurred the lines between what I would call a full cover water block and a core only water block. I do want to talk to you about that in depth though. So I think the best thing that we can do now is take a look at what's in the box, look at the pricing, because to be fair, it is really it's aggressively priced. I'll explain to you how they've managed to do that. And I'll also kind of explain why they've blurred the lines between what would have been a core-only block with a passive heatsink on all the VRMs and memory and that kind of thing, and kind of blurred the lines when it moves over into a full cover block. But the way that they've managed to blur the lines also means that they've blurred the prices as well, and they've brought those prices right down. But it also gives you options with upgrade options later on, keeping the same kit, changing the plates. It's actually quite a really well thought out and great idea that may encourage more of you to get your graphics cards wet. So without further ado, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to move on to show you what's in the box. So the box that I'm actually going to be opening is a 980 block, and it's the MO1, which is actually designed for the Asus Strix cards. But I'll explain to you why that there are different versions of this and why it's actually quite a cool feature. We have other blocks mounted up ready to show you as well, and I'm going to show you the block taken apart. Now this one comes in at around £70. It's available from a humongous range of retailers. You've only really got to get on the internet, but Alphacool have got an amazing worldwide reach. So whether you're in the States, Asia, Europe, Australia, you'll be able to get these really easily. All you need to do is go and find your favoured retailer, and I would have thought that they'll have them in stock. Now the first thing is, like I said, in GBP, because obviously that's the currency that I work in, this comes in around £70. Now I've had a look, and back plates alone normally start at around 30 quid. So the fact that you get the back plate in here for your 70 quid is amazing. Another thing that I should point out, I actually looked at some of the other GTX 980 water blocks, and some of those were sort of like upwards of £90 without a back plate. So it's actually a really good, a really aggressive price really, when considering that if you spent £90, for argument's sake £90 on another brand, and then you still had to go and buy a back plate as well for another 30 quid, you're already looking at savings of, just the starters are saving yourself about 50 quid. So these can actually be quite a good option for those of you on a tight budget as well. But you do get the back plate. I'm not going to mess around taking this one out, because I've got one out already. And essentially you can see that you've got the nice ridges on the back. It's an aluminium back plate. It's anodized, but one thing that I can say is that you could obviously get this stripped and anodized if you wanted, like a different color, or you could paint it. So you've got plenty of customizing options there for you as well. And also these little standoffs come off really easy if you did want to sand it or something like that. So you can actually, it could be a really good idea for modders as well. But like I said, I want to show you what's in the box. So now, this is the main beef of the block. And essentially, and this is where I need to get my explanation head on, and I will try my best to keep things simple but still give you enough details that you're going to find this interesting. Essentially, you do have a core only block in the middle, and a lot of water coolers have really moved away from the core only blocks over the years in favour of the full cover blocks. But the GPX is actually kind of a hybrid between core only and full cover. And essentially what Alphacool do is they manufacture you a back plate, for want of a better term, or the actual, like the cover to house it in. Now you can see that you've got a raised section here for you to be able to cool the memory, and you can see we've got cutouts for the caps to sit in, and here, as you can see, this is a raised area where the VRMs will sit. And essentially what Alphacool have done is they've come up with a way that you can have the core only block, but it is actually attached to the plate for your specific graphics card. Now what they can do is they can, where this bit is the same throughout the range, they've only really got to manufacture the outside bit. And to show you what I mean, this is a 290X with the block fitted, and you can see the cutout sections here. But this is a reference card, but there's obviously a lot of aftermarket cards as well, and that's where things really start to get complicated. So rather than having to change the whole copper bit and everything like that, you can just change the outside black part. Now it does get much more complicated when we get into why and how this works. So with all of these bits and bobs hanging around, what I do want to show you is this, because this next part is the reason why I personally think these are awesome. Because the problem with the core only side of things is generally the core only obviously cools the graphics card, and normally the outside section here is just passive, and then that means all your VRMs and everything are just passively cooled by the heatsink. Now that can work really well and has done with many other brands in the past, but what Alphacool have done is put a big twist in their design, in the fact that that is obviously where the graphics card attaches, but if you have a look, there's a much larger section. Now that grey that you can see is thermal paste, and the water is all underneath here when it gets pumped around. But if you have a look, this is the plate for a standard 980. You can see all the way around here, the water block actually does make contact with the passive heatsink. So although it's not, you're not pumping water directly around where your VRMs and everything are, you do get the benefits of the water cooling on the actual plate itself. With all of the other designs where you have a core only with a passive heatsink, you don't get this contact to aid the cooling. So this is actually a very unique way, and it completely changed my opinion of this. So you can see that is the bit that your would be in contact with your the actual core. But you can see under the thermal paste, this is still metal. It's still the all copper, but nickel plated underneath this. So it's like having a two-stage water block, for want of a better term. And now I've got thermal paste all over my fingers. Now I did say I would show you the block dismantled as well, just so that you can see what's going on inside. And you can easily unscrew this, but I've obviously done this just so that I can show it off to you guys. And when you undo it, it does look like this is like an impeller or like a turbine, but it's fixed, and it's just to channel the water down inside. And I've removed the back bit, but underneath is this. And they're 0.5mm channels and 2.5mm high. It's all copper and then nickel plated. I have taken some up close photos just so that you can see it, but essentially it gets channeled down through here and then blasted into the fins as you saw before, and then exits back out the outside, and you have a dedicated in and an out. So when you do fit it, you can see that there are very specific in and out ports. The in goes in the top, swirls around, goes down, absorbs the heat, and then goes back out the outside section and out the other side. Also, as you can see where with me shining the light when I was talking to you earlier about the thermal paste, that's all of this area around the outside that would be in contact with the rest of the block there. So you can see that there's quite a large footprint there, but the copper underneath, as you can see, it's multi-layered, so you do get a large contact area in contact, I keep saying in contact, but with that that base block, the what would normally be a passive heatsink actually gets extra cooling from the water block itself. Okay, so here's another cool idea. So we've got this is the standard 980 block. So let's imagine that you have this fitted to your 980 and you want to change graphics cards to the, say for argument's sake, the 290X. So essentially, normally what you then have to do is take the water block apart, drain your loop, all that kind of stuff, and it all gets very, very complicated when you try and swap graphics cards. But essentially with the Alphacool, what you can do is buy a new block, the plate around the outside, so you can dismantle it and keep this section. You can do it with it still fitted if you want to, but you can just you can keep this section that you've got and just buy yourself a new plate to go on your new graphics card, and then you get it all fitted, all in, and fit it on your new graphics card. And I know it would be fiddly, but it would be possible to switch between. But the most important part of that idea is, even if you did want to drain it, change a hose in, all that type of thing, is you're not buying another whole kit. You can just buy the black plate in the background and just change that and keep using your standard center. And the main block is called the GPX Solo, just so that you're aware of the terminology. But like I said, when you fit them all up, they do look the part. And one of the things that I was massively surprised by was although it does make it heavy because there's a lot of material, it's also solid. When it's fitted in the case, it's all really strong. You don't have any wilting. I mean, look at the size of the back plate on that. It's not going to be getting any drooping when you do that. If it does start to lean, then it's normally because you've not bolted the ends into the into your case properly. Now I know you're all shouting out there and you're all saying, "Well, it's all right all this, Tom, but give us some numbers." And so I have tested the 290X version with it all looped up. We kept it with what I would call a decent standard water cooling loop. We had a 360mm Alphacool all copper radiator and an Alphacool CPU block along with the 290X, and we were getting graphics card temperatures sub 50 degrees. The VRM temperatures are obviously a big draw point for the 290s because they can get very hot, and we were getting temperatures below 80 degrees on the hottest VRM, because there's one that it's always sort of like sat around the 100 degrees mark, and it was a high 70s for that, and then there's a lower one and that was low 50s. So the VRM temperatures on this are much better than for argument's sake the standard reference cooler. But one of the most important things that I can say is, yes, it's going to be cooling around the sort of performance of a very high-end air-cooled graphics card, but the difference with this is there's no fans, active fans on this that are going to be making noise. There's no, you know, you're not going to have to set any fan profiles or anything like that. And when we were doing our testing, we weren't doing normal gameplay testing. We were leaving it with a benchmark loop on, which we use for our thermal testing on the graphics cards. And rather than leaving it for 30 minutes as we would do with an air cool test, we were leaving these tests running overnight. So we were heavily putting this thing under pressure, and it was still delivering, like I said, brilliant temperatures, but with very well no noise, because you're on the water cooling. If you did want to add to the cooling benefits of this, they do have little mounts here, and you can buy an 80mm fan mount, which you can screw in, have your fan on the end, and you can have an 80mm fan. Now obviously you can set the 80mm fan up with a fan profile on the motherboard, so it doesn't really spin unless, you know, things get proper toasty. But you can obviously set that up as you so wish. This obviously is an optional extra. You don't necessarily have to have it, but with the temperatures that I've seen here, it's only really going to be for those of you that are really want to be pushing your temperatures down. That would probably want to buy this anyway. This is another one of the GPXs that I wanted to show you. That's an AMD 295X2, and as you can see, there are 2 blocks GPX Solos mounted to this one with the passive cooling plate for the 295X2. As you can see, that you've got all the cutouts to fit around everything, and this is one of the key things with this, is where they keep the GPX Solo part of it the same. They only have to manufacture the memory and the VRM cooling plate and the back plate, and that's something that they can do quite quickly and easily when compared to other normal full cover water blocks. And it means that they can not only bring these to market quite quickly, it also means that because of the manufacturing side of it, they can manufacture them in bulk, so that there's not going to be, you know, like a problem with stock when they launch. But obviously with the fact that they can make them easier and quicker, that's the reason why the prices are so competitive. I personally really like the chunky looks to these, and something else that I did want to say is that because of the way that these are manufactured, if you wanted to, you could get your cooling plate, as I keep calling it, but the block for your memory and your VRMs and everything, this black bit that goes around the outside. You could strip this and get it anodized if you wanted, or for argument's sake, you could get it stripped and get it nickel plated. There's many companies online now that are offering this as a service, so you can customize these. You could also paint them. I would probably, if I was going to paint them, paint the side bit and maybe the tops of the fins rather than painting everything, so it's, you know, takes away any fears of like insulating the heat. But obviously with the back plate on, if you've not got memory on the back plate, then you can obviously you can paint this quite easily and not have to worry. One of the other things I would like to talk about just quickly is the instructions for these are actually really clear. Sometimes with graphics cards and the instructions, it can get a little bit, I don't want to say daunting, but I've obviously fitted a lot of these things over the years, and even I sometimes end up a little bit confused. But with these, it's really simple. Just follow the instructions. It's generally just Allen keys, and it does come with them. Just Allen keys. It comes with the Allen keys and the bolt, and then you end up getting 2 sets of thermal pads, and you have normally red and yellow. One will have some thicker thermal pads in it for the back plate, because the back plate has thermal pads on it as well, so the back plate does actually end up playing a good cooling role. And then the yellow ones, or the thinner ones, are generally for the main bit of the block. So just to bring up just a quick section to show you what you could expect. Now this is obviously, it could change from graphics card to graphics card, but I have fitted the 980, the 295, the 980 Strix, 290X and the 290 Matrix. Just to kind of give you an idea of the level, you know, I've spent quite a lot of time fitting blocks for these, and the manuals are all really simple, and this is the type of thing that you're going to be faced with. And it really is this simple. I've shown you previously that you have the two bags, and you have the yellow stickered bag and you have the red stickered bag. This is what you have to do with the red stickered bag, and the only difference between the colours on this is that the slight orange just means that these are the ones that you have to cut up slightly, but they all come from the same bag. And then the other one, which is the yellow, again, it's really simple. You can see there, it's all laid out quite nicely. Something else to bring from this is that you can see that you've got a strip along the back of the VRMs, and that's to help cool those even more, because obviously then it means rather than just being in the open air, it's actually got direct contact with the other heat sinks. So you're almost cooling the back of the VRMs with your back plate. But also, if you have a look, there's a thermal pad there for the back of the core itself. So rather than, again, it just being there, you are actually, then any heat is going to get transferred into that back plate, which is obviously going to help keep your graphics card temperatures down. But as far as it being difficult, it can be quite daunting when fitting blocks to a graphics card, and the instructions are really, really simple, to a point that it was, for me, it was just like, oh, that's nice and easy, and just get on there and do it. If you are worried with stuff like this though, you can obviously go onto the OC 3D forums, and the boys on there will help you with any questions or anything that you might have. Don't be afraid to ask, but the instructions like this really are quite simple, and if you just take a bit of a deep breath and a methodical approach, you'll be able to get them fitted by yourself in no time whatsoever. So we've taken a look at quite a few of these now. I'm hoping now you can understand why I wanted to make the video, and that's just to show you how it really is a step away from the normal core only cooling, and it kind of like breaches the gap between core only and full cover. But obviously you get the benefits of the water cooling with the plates. You've got that upgrade and expansion idea as well, where you can change the plates with your graphics card and keep this. It's all about keeping costs down, really. And that really starts from the moment that you buy it, in the fact that, as I said right at the beginning of the video, when you buy a kit for 70 quid, you get the plate, which is going to be specific for your graphics card, and the range is enormous. If they don't make the one that if they don't make one of these plates for your specific graphics card, you can actually ask them, and they can make you one special, and then they may even take it out, you know, and expand the range as well. So there's not a definite no, we're not going to do that. They are happy to make a backplate for your card. Like I said, for that 70 quid, you get the core, you get the special plate for your graphics card, and you get the back plate as well. So you can end up saving money right from the start. So there you have it, guys. I actually really like these. I'm already wanting to start painting these and stuff like that. One thing I have forgot to mention was the fact that you can get SLI connectors for all of these, and they're push fittings. So you can have up to 3 graphics cards all linked up on this. Obviously, if you were running just two-way Crossfire or SLI, you would just have this section blanked off, and they do come with the blank offs as well. And there it is fitted. You obviously wouldn't see it from the other side, but you can have it all linked up. Or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way and like to see a bit more hose, you can obviously have your water cooling angled fittings or whatever coming out from these to link them all up with your hard lining, or, you know, whatever you want to do. The options are endless. But so, with a slight educational twist, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out.